Good morning. Imagine with me, if you will, an artist. In his smooth, firm hand is a paintbrush. He dips it carefully into the paint and begins. The first picture he paints is not very pretty. It is not a painting that you would want to hang over your fireplace. This painting shows a lady with her head hung down in shame. She is dressed in dirty, torn, ragged clothes. She is in the middle of a courtroom, standing before a judge, and the jury and all the people in the courtroom are staring at her. Some people appear to be laughing, some mocking. Others appear to be making fun of her. As the artist finishes the final strokes of the painting, he lays down his art palette and paintbrush and leans back to view his artwork. He stares sadly at the picture for a brief moment. But wait, now I see a tiny smile lighten his face as he picks up his paintbrush once again. As we watch the artist, we can see that although the same lady is in the middle of the picture, the artist is adding another person. This new person the artist is adding in is standing right next to the girl, and in his hand, he is holding out a garment. The shadow cast from the garment looks strikingly like a cross. He is offering to cover the girl's dirty, filthy, ragged dress with a new, clean garment. The artist now changes his focus back to the girl. He begins to add some new paint to her face. In a few masterful strokes, the artist is changing her expression from shame and rejection to a smile of love and acceptance. As he completes the final stroke, the artist smiles as he steps back from his completed painting. As I was reading through Zechariah a few months ago, I came across some verses that painted such a beautiful picture of salvation in my mind. I could almost see the verses like a picture before my eyes. Listen carefully. Now Joshua was clothed in filthy garments and stood before the angel. And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with change of raiment. And I said, Let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head, and clothed him with garments. Zechariah 3, verses 3 through 5. These verses paint such a vivid image in my mind. And when I read those verses, the story that I told you of the artist came to my mind. God is the artist, and he is painting a picture of salvation. He is the righteous judge. I am the girl. I'm dirty and filthy with sin. On my own, I cannot stand before the judge. I am not worthy to come before the righteous judge in my filthiness. The judge will have to condemn me for my sin. Sin has to have a payment. For the wages of sin is death, Romans 6:23. But before the judge passes his sentence, the artist paints someone else into the picture. That someone steps up next to me. He smiles and removes his garment. He holds it out to me. He is offering to cover my filthy clothes with his new garment. The one offering me his garment is the judge's son. The one offering to cover my filthy sins is Jesus. What a beautiful picture of salvation. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my God, for he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness. Isaiah 61:10. Those verses about Joshua being filthy and then his filthy clothes are taken away and he is given a new garment is exactly what happens to us at salvation. We wear a filthy garment of sin, and yet God's Son, Jesus Christ, steps forward and offers to cover us with his robe of righteousness. I find it very interesting that when Jesus was put to death on the cross, they stripped him naked before the world. His garments were removed. Perhaps it was so that I in my sin could be covered, covered with his robe of righteousness. How about you? In which picture are you? Are you still dressed in your filthy garments of sin, or have you met the judge's son Jesus and accepted his new garment of righteousness to cover your sin? If so, if you have accepted his covering, then when is the last time you thanked the artist for painting his son into the picture? When is the last time you really thanked God for allowing his son Jesus to die on a rugged cross to cover the shame of your sin? And when have you thanked Jesus for being willing to give you his righteousness? He has changed your life from shame to honor, from rejection to love, from condemnation to forgiveness. He has changed the painting of your life from ashes to beauty. He has changed your filthy garments of sin and heaviness to a garment of praise. To give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that he might be glorified. Isaiah 61:3. The painting is complete. The smiling girl now wears a beautiful new garment given to her by the judge's son. The artist smiles as he admires his painting. He could have left the first painting alone. He didn't have to change it. He didn't have to add in the judge's son, but he did. The artist changed it because he loves that girl in the picture. That girl is me. My God is an amazing artist.